777, the magnificent seven. They were only seven, but they fought like 700 to bring the kind of justice that would last. 777, the magnificent seven.
Issue. Today we were running an exercise for a company, bearing in mind I'm now in the private sector, and we sat everybody down in the city, 1,000 people involved in the whole organisation, but the crisis team, and the most peculiar thing was we based our scenario on the simultaneous attacks on the Underground and mainline station. So we had to suddenly switch an exercise from fictional to real. And one of the first things is, get that bureau number. When you have a list of people missing, tell them. And it took a long time.
Just to get this right, you were actually working today on an exercise that envisioned virtually this scenario.
Almost precisely. I was up until 2 o'clock this morning because it's our job, my own company, Advisor Consultants. We specialise in helping people to get their crisis management response. How do you jump from slow time thinking to quick time doing? And we chose a scenario with their assistance which is based on a terrorist attack because they're very close to a property occupied by Jewish businessmen. They're in the city, and there are more American banks in the city than there are in the whole of New York. A logical thing to do. And I've still got the...
I was going to say, how extraordinary today must feel for you as it unfolds. You mentioned a few moments ago there our experience with Irish Republican terrorism. Yeah. And of course, it was very different, wasn't it? Because however perverted their behaviour, the IRA believed itself to have some sort of code of honour and tended to issue warnings, although of course they often came late to do any good. But
my name's Sashta Mughal, I'm 33 years old and I'm from London. 10 years to this day, I was working in the City of London. It was a normal day for me in terms of I was heading into the city for work. I was in fact running late. So that tube on the Piccadilly line should never have been the tube that I should have got onto. But because I was late, I ended up getting onto that tube. 10 seconds into the tunnel, on its way to Russell Square, there was a massive bang, which I now know was the explosion. The train came to a sudden standstill, but it felt like the train completely shook. The lights went out. Black smoke started to fill up the carriage. Complete silence, I remember initially, but then that silence went into screams, crying, people banging on the doors, people crying. But for me, I remained completely still. And I remember going into shock, where then I had a gush of thoughts. And I started to remember my loved ones. And I honestly thought that I was going to die that day. Physically, I was completely covered in black smoke. My hands, my face, my suit. I remember having to take off in the carriage my blazer and literally wrapping it around my face because it started to suffocate me. Eventually, what happened was the emergency services came down to rescue us.
We need to clear now Russell Square. Please, for your safety, please start moving down.
They came in through the carriages, escorted us out onto the tracks, back to King's Cross. I tried to call loved ones. I couldn't get through on the network systems were down, and I had to make my way home on foot, and that's exactly what I did. I walked back, and it took me hours. It took me hours, but eventually when I did get home, and I remember when I was on my road, I just ran as fast as I could to my home, got into the house, locked the door, shut the curtains, shut all the lights, no TV, no radio. And I remember just curling up on the sofa and bursting into tears and crying, waiting for loved ones to come. I was completely shocked. I thought the UK would never suffer a bombing, and not in London and not on the underground system. And then it started to emerge that they were bombings carried out by a small handful of Muslim males. And that shocked me even more. The attacks that day went completely against Islam. It took me a long while to overcome 7/7. I'm probably not fully over 7/7 because I find it very difficult to travel on the tube, even 10 years on.
Yes, I think we have obviously since that event learnt a number of lessons. A lot of investment has happened in not only the tube but in those emergency services, new radio systems, new equipment. So we are going to see certainly all those new things tested today. This is though one of a many test exercises we've performed over a long period of time, and we continue to test and learn those lessons right up to the opening ceremony on the 27th of July.
Your Royal Highness, my 7/7 community family, ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, my life and those of many others was changed forever in ways that we never imagined when we left our homes on the 7th of July, 2005. 52 innocent lives were cut short by a senseless act of terror, and many, including me, suffered life-changing injuries. What was otherwise a very happy and perfect morning turned into the bleakest of days and nights to follow, and changed our lives forever.